when the ideology of the current age in which we're living is amplified by social media and by the university system, which is our echo chambers, we've fallen a little trap in which truth seems to be undervalued at this particular time.
Well, with truth being undervalued at this particular time, don't you think a lot of that has to do with the media itself? Because I feel like that's where it's starting, and then everybody else is responding off of what they're either hearing and or reading in the news. And I think it starts at the top and trickles down.
I think that's definitely part of it. I think another part. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead. I've got a second part to that. I want you to get your thoughts on. Okay, so
you go, then
I think the second part of I think the media proliferation is makes it exponential, but I think the idea that people casually use the phrase "speak my truth" now is a problem, because there's truth and then there's not truth. There's not my truth versus yours, but me feeling a certain way doesn't make that accurate. Now, my feelings are what they are. They are happening, and there's no question about that. However, that doesn't necessarily justify how I feel, right?
Right. So I'm really glad you said that. And what happened right there in that interaction when we both spoke at the same time, and then I said, "You go," that's a really useful thing that you can use. And it's not like a, technique or anything, but it's just a way to show people that you're listening to them. And so I want to push back on what you said. I don't think it starts in the media. I think the problem is that it starts in the university, and we've indoctrinated an entire generation of people who then go into the media. So they occupy positions in the media, and they take these deranged ideas with them. And this idea that Dan was talking about of it's called lived experience, your lived truth. We've taught people that, and it's a denigration of truth overall. So we tell people that their lived experience is privileged over, for example, intermittent fasting, to bring it back to that. My lived experience of intermittent fasting is completely fucking irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant are what do the numbers show. And if the numbers show that my cholesterol has gone through the roof as a result of this, and my A1Cs, for example, have gone through the roof, then what difference does my lived experience make if the activity in which I'm engaging is killing me? So I don't think it's the media. I think it's the university system has indoctrinated people, and we've veered away from certain fundamental principles of a free civil society.
How do we get back then to our roots and to who we used to be, or has it always been like this?
It's always been like this to a certain degree, but now we have problems we have entire systems that have hijacked our thoughts, particularly about race, gender, and sexual orientation, so that we have to think something. We have certain values that have popped up almost literally overnight in the last 2 years. For example, equity would be a great example. If you ask people even a few years ago what equity meant, they'd give a kind of a financial explanation. If you have so much money invested in a house, what have you, have equity in your house. But now equity has been the North Star of our K-12 institutions, of increasingly in business and media. So what's happening is that the mission statement of these institutions is the same, but the people occupying them discharge those mission statements in different ways. That's why the ACLU, for example, has gone woke. The SPLC has gone woke. We have all these organizations that have gone woke. So it's like invasion of the body snatchers. They look the same from the outside. Their mission statement is the same, but they're doing totally different things. They're not the same organizations they were even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much different than people like Deepak Chopra, for example, talking about quantum entanglement and trying to make it sound mystical and stuff, just to justify his own lunatic beliefs. It's basically like you're just co-opting language and trying to recreate a reality that never existed in the first place.
Yes.
It's so bizarre.
Right. In part, that's correct. I'm going to try to keep to the what we talked about in the beginning of pushing back on each other. So I'm going to push back. So the philosopher Daniel Dennett calls that a deepity. It's something that sounds profound, but it's not. The difference between Chopra and what we see now is Chopra's a lone individual spouting total nonsense. But the university systems, you have the imprimatur, or the stamp of, rigor, or the stamp of the academy, and then they're producing completely deranged ideas. So there's a difference between an individual going out there talking about quantum, whatever it is, entanglement, what have you, and then a university system pumping out stuff that's just demonstrably false.